All right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about sabers, some basics about some options out there, maybe some things to look for, and the parameters. First of all, there is our instructions or rules manual that gives the details for this, but sometimes it's just easier to talk things through. No blade, or I should say no saber, can be longer than 51 inches. The blade itself can be only 35, or it can be 21 inches to 35 inches. And the hilt can be up to 16. That's kind of your nuts and bolts. We are talking about changing some of those rules. In other words, the blade might be longer and the hilt can be shorter, but that's our current rule set. This is a well-used Mando Corps. As you can see, it's taken a beating. It's got my patch that's faded over time, and I still love it, okay? So there's lots of great saber makers out there. I know that in Wisconsin, we're kind of loyal to Mando Corps, so shout out to them. It may or may not have issues depending on how hard you are on your equipment, but I guarantee you that Jason Hayden with Mando Corps will give you A+ customer service. He will take care of you. He takes care of us Wookiees. He takes care of us Wausau people. He will take care of you as well. So I suggest to get a Mando Corps. There are other makers. I'll talk about those as well. But I'm just using this one as an example, as my OG, I like to call it, saber from Mando. It has a 3.5 inch suba, so that's the max. Notice it is round. It can be sort of shaped however you want it. It's in square or like hexagon, but it cannot have any sharp corners. In fact, nowhere on it can you have like sharp corners. You notice this is all rounded off, even kind of bent, okay? And that becomes part of the character of your saber, right? I love this one because it has kind of grown with me. The blade itself is made out of polycarbonate, and it has to have a tip on it. It can be a rounded or parabolic tip. It cannot be pointed. Okay, so it cannot have a pointed edge on it, but there's, like, if you go to the customsabershop.com, there's a few different options. Just get the rounded or the parabolic, as they call it, okay? You do have to have glue on it. Use E6000 to put your tip on there. That's the best stuff from Home Depot. And I usually use packing tape to secure the tip on as well. Sometimes that glue gives out, but honestly, this E6000 I've had great luck with. But even with that, you're required to have some tape on it. So I know that mine looks pretty ghetto because I need to probably redo that tape, but it is there. You can also get like heat shrinks on there. That's an option. Personally, I just go with packing tape, okay? Okay, so then this is the hilt. It is made out of aluminum. The Mando makes a really nice and light hilt. Again, it can be a max of 16 inches long. There's no parameters for how short it can be. So if you want something the size of your fist, it does have to light up, okay, at least at the start of the match. But apart from that, it's a lightsaber, right? Apart from that, there's not a lot of limitations as far as some of the style. It does have to be at least 21 inches long, so this is a full 35. That would be a short blade, and if you're to make a really short saber, okay, that's fun, like sort of like a dagger. But I will tell you, the people that do well in this sport have a max hilt and they have a max blade. And until those rules change, that's what I suggest. Get a 16-inch hilt from Mando, get a 35-inch blade from the Custom Saber Shop, okay? I'm gonna give you some options. I'm gonna talk you through some things. I have some exotic stuff. Exotics is one of our categories. This is a pike. There are specific rules for a pike, as we have pikes, we have saber staff like Darth Maul. You can dual wield, and there's a cross guard, kind of like, well, Kylo Ren, okay? All lightsabers obviously have to have a polycarbonate blade. This is a modified Ronin, and I have some spear extensions on it to make it the pike. Okay, so I just hold this up as to kind of introduce you to the world of exotics. which is not really what all TSL is about, but some people that's just they love, and it gives some variety. It makes it a little bit more fun. Let's be a little honest. So a really common question we get is about some other companies, and I don't want to use this as to bash other companies because I'm not really about that. But for example, let's see if it'll use it. It will. Well, kind of. Actually, a pretty good example. This is my Ultra Saber that is not lighting up, or it did for a second, and it's making some sound. This is the second Saber I've ever owned. So I've had it for a while, to be fair, and I've repaired it a couple times. Generally, these Ultra Sabers look cool, I'll be honest. They look, more like the real thing. And they often have sound on them, which can be attractive, but it can also be really annoying, okay? It's fun to play with, like, for the first month, and then after that, you might just be sick of it. Especially if you're doing combat. If somebody is coming at you, oops. Hoping to take my TV. If somebody's coming at you and you hear this, you know it's coming, right? And some people just have a little sound on it, but my suggestion in general is don't get an Ultra Saber. I hate to say it. It's not one of our sponsors, and I've had a lot of bad experiences with them. So they're kind of on the bottom of my list for, yeah, you can get one for like 50, 75 bucks, but there's other better options out there, even for that price range. If you can do 200, get a Mando, or PM me about some other options. All right, just gonna show you one other thing, and that's just the blade itself. This is a daytime blade from the Custom Saber Shop. And for my really young fighters or people that can't swing much around, you can kind of make your own saber, to be honest. You can get some aluminum tubing and put a flashlight in it, and then put one of these blades in it. Or you can just get one of these blades by itself and use this, okay? Because this will at least be safe enough. It's not gonna light up, of course, but use this for now to have as a backup for later. But if you're having a hard time swinging those bigger sabers around, then you can just swing the blade around for some practice, okay? Other things I can say about the sabers themselves, again, they do have to have a light source. The Suba, I highly recommend, that's that guard around near the emitter. That's basically the top of the hilt or handle. You want one of those because when people, pretty common, people hit your blade, it slides down, and either your fingers are going to get hurt, or this will stop it. And if it hits the Suba, it's not a point. Depending on where it hits your hand, it is a point. Okay, so if it stops here, it's not a point. If it goes there, it's already a point, because only the fingers are not a legal target on the hand. Okay? All right, that's kind of it for sabers for now. You have an idea of what you can get and some of the brands I recommend. And so, later.
What is your profession?